The man jumped off his chair and shouted, "That kid just stole the whole night." And everyone in the living room stared at the screen like they had just witnessed a magic trick nobody could explain, because only a few seconds earlier the match between Athletic Club and FC Barcelona looked like it was heading toward one of those stubborn 0-0 games where everyone runs, everyone sweats, and nobody actually scores. But football sometimes hides a prank in its pocket and waits for the perfect moment to shock everyone watching, and that moment arrived at San Mamés on the night of March 7th, 2026, when Athletic Club hosted Barcelona in a La Liga battle that began with the stadium roaring like a volcano ready to erupt, because San Mamés is never friendly to visiting teams, and Athletic fans had come believing this was the night they would slow down the giant from Catalonia. And for a long time it actually looked like they were right, because the match started with Barcelona's strangely quiet while Athletic Club played like hunters chasing a prize. And just 10 minutes into the match, something odd happened when Unai Gomez had to leave the field and Robert Navarro replaced him. A change that looked small but somehow injected even more chaos into Athletic's attack as they pressed forward with confidence, pushing the ball through midfield and testing Barcelona's defense again and again, while the Barcelona players looked slightly uncomfortable, like guests who arrived at a party where they didn't know anyone yet. And several times Athletic tried their luck through players like Oyhan Sanset and Robert Navarro, who fired attempts toward the goal, forcing Barcelona goalkeeper Joan Garcia to stay alert and produce a few impressive saves that quietly kept the score at 0 while tension slowly grew inside the stadium. And by the time the first half ended 0-0, the crowd sensed something strange, because Athletic had been dangerous, but the goal refused to appear, as if the net itself had decided to stay neutral for the night. And somewhere in the Barcelona bench, coach Hansi Flick seemed to realize that the match needed a brain to wake it up. So the moment the second half began, he made a quick move that would later look like a masterstroke by sending Pedri onto the field in the 46th minute to replace Marc Bernal. And suddenly the rhythm of the game shifted almost immediately, because Pedri didn't run wildly or try to force hero moments. Instead, he simply began controlling the ball like a calm chess player, moving pieces across the board, slowing things down, connecting passes, and quietly pulling Barcelona back into the match, while Athletic continued pushing forward, believing the breakthrough would eventually belong to them. Then the tension thickened when Alejandro Rigo Mora received a yellow card in the 50th minute, and later Barcelona's young defender Pau Cubarsí picked up a yellow card in the 57th minute, showing that the game was becoming rougher as both teams realized that one single moment might decide everything. And the clock kept moving while the scoreboard stubbornly refused to change, and fans everywhere started thinking the same thought. This match might finish 0-0, but football has a sense of humor, and sometimes it waits until everyone believes one story before suddenly writing a completely different ending. And that twist arrived in the 68th minute when Pedri received the ball in midfield and did something that looked simple but carried the weight of the entire match. He lifted his head and slipped a perfectly timed pass toward the right side, where an 18-year-old teenager named Lamine Yamal was waiting, and for a split second nothing seemed dramatic, because Yamal simply controlled the ball and moved toward the edge of the penalty area, while two defenders watched him carefully, expecting a pass or a cross. But instead the teenager did something that turned the stadium silent in the most shocking way possible. He bent a curling shot toward the far top corner of the goal with frightening precision, and the ball flew past goalkeeper Unai Simon before anyone fully realized what was happening. And suddenly the scoreboard lit up: Athletic Club 0, Barcelona 1. And the entire stadium that had been roaring minutes earlier froze in disbelief, because sometimes football doesn't reward the team that attacks the most, but the one that produces a moment of pure brilliance. And that moment belonged to a teenager who needed only one touch of magic to steal the night. And from that moment, the match transformed into a desperate chase, as Athletic Club refused to accept defeat and immediately made changes in the 69th minute, bringing on Gorka Garuzita for Inaki Williams and Mikel Vesca for Alejandro Mora to inject fresh energy into the attack, while Barcelona became more cautious and organized, knowing they now had something precious to protect. And Athletic continued pushing forward with determination, throwing the ball into dangerous areas and trying long shots, hoping something would finally break their way. but time kept slipping away like sand through fingers, and Barcelona made another adjustment in the 78th minute, bringing on Ronald Araujo to strengthen the defense in place of Marc Casado, as the final minutes turned into a tense battle of nerves. And Athletic came painfully close when Robert Navarro launched a shot that missed by inches, and later Oyhun Sansit fired another effort that sailed just above the crossbar. The 88th minute leaving the crowd gasping because it felt like the goal was hiding just one breath away. But football can be cruel, and sometimes it simply refuses to cooperate no matter how loudly the stadium begs. And when the referees signaled 5 minutes of stoppage time, the atmosphere became electric as Athletic threw everything forward searching for an equalizer. And in the 90+2 minute, Gorka Guruzada managed a dangerous attempt inside the penalty area, only for Barcelona's defense to block it at the last second. Then tension exploded again when Danny Vivian received a yellow card in the 90+3 minute after a desperate challenge, as frustration began to creep into the Athletic side. And seconds later, the referee finally blew the whistle, ending the battle, with Barcelona winning 1-0 thanks to that unforgettable 68th minute strike from Lamine Yamal assisted by Pedri. A result that allowed Barcelona to maintain their position at the top of La Liga, while Athletic Club walked away wondering how they could dominate large stretches of the match yet still lose to a single flash of brilliance. And somewhere among the fans, one stunned viewer summed up the entire night perfectly by whispering with a mix of shock and laughter that football is the only game where 90 minutes of effort can be stolen by one teenager and one perfect curve of the ball.